If you've seen my other videos at all, you might know that I made a similar video just a bit ago about grindcore. This also made me realize no one actually cares about grindcore as much as I do, so I figured that I would just remake that video with a more popular genre. In all seriousness though, I really do like death metal, so I figured this would be a good video to make. Anyway, same rules as last time. Albums aren't sorted, but the last one is my favorite in the genre. But I also want to add that I'm not including brutal death, metal death, or deathcore here, since I'm planning on giving those genres their own video. Now, let's get into the albums. To start out, I want to restrict myself to only 2 albums from Death, just because I'm way too big of a Death fan to not. Otherwise, it would just be like fucking Individual Thought Patterns, just every album pretty much. My first choice for them is Human, which was their 4th album, and to me, their kind of transitional album from standard death metal to the more tech death stuff. Usually I don't like these kind of in-between albums, but Humans really works well since there was already a more technical style to death. I realize Human isn't everyone's first choice for them, and this album usually won't even break top 3, alright? But I prefer it over pretty much any of the other post-80s albums, really. One of the heaviest albums I can put here without breaking my rules is Cattle Decap's Death Atlas. Cattle Decap is one of those bands that consistently puts out good music, and I would argue that their only stinkers are their grindcore albums. And by the way, fuck To Serve Man's Snare Tone. I cannot enjoy that album because of that. Anyway, Death Atlas is the second most recent album they've put out, and in my opinion, the best one they made, period. As good as Monolith of Inhumanity was, and as much as I love that album too, the emotional charge behind Death Atlas's title track and the horror elements on songs like Be Still or Bleeding Hearts really makes it stick out to me. Every song is unique, but generally, there is a more emotional feel to the whole album. There's also Morbid Angel that we have to talk about, and there's really only one album I need to talk about here, which is Altars of Madness. Out of all of the classic death metal bands, Morbid Angel is probably the heaviest. They're like the When the Kite String Pops to Death's pagan terrorism tactics, or the Iowa to Possession's All Hope Is Gone. Altars of Madness is Morbid Angel's peak, just objectively. Honestly, the worst part of this album is that there's nothing new to say about it. While Death and Possession may have created death metal, Morbid Angel laid out the foundation of the death metal bands to come. If it wasn't for them, death metal would sound entirely different now. Similarly, Deicide's self-titled album basically created the more extreme side of the scene. Even though the mixing is complete dog shit, it's noticeably heavier than any other death metal from its time. I wouldn't consider it black and brutal grind slam war metal or anything. It is still pretty heavy considering it was released in fucking 1990. Keep in mind that later in the 90s, as a matter of fact, 1 year later, Brutal Death was created with Suffocation releasing their first album. Just 1 year after Deicide. I want to say they had as strong an influence as like Morbid Angel or anything, but they are definitely a huge player in the creation of the more extreme genres. Now, I figure it's time I talk about my favorite album. Death's Leprosy is not in everyone's S tier, but it damn well is in mine. This is arguably Death's heaviest album, but that's not really a super crazy title to have, let's be real here. A lot of highlights on this album like Pull the Plug, and again, the title track to the album. How many fucking title tracks have we talked about in this video? Have infectious riffs that get stuck in your head for days after listening to them. I say the highlights of the album, but pretty much every song is impressive and catchy all at the same time, which is something a lot of other bands seem to struggle with. Just like Human, while this isn't everyone's favorite or even like the best death album ever from an objective standpoint, it's still a good ass album with a lot of worth, and it's my favorite. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. This script is actually a little bit longer than the grindcore one, so I really hope that it was worth it and you enjoyed this. If you have any recommendations for albums I should listen to, please let me know in the comments. I'm aware that there's supposed to be a gaming video this week. I know I don't have to mention I'm not Joe Biden. I just literally don't have any good gameplay footage in all honesty, so I have to go get more. I can't even edit the Postal 2 one because I'm having like technical issues with that game, so I just have to fucking look, man. I'll put it all together eventually. For now though, you're just gonna have to wait. Sorry about that. Anyway, I will see you